I woke up to the warmth of another body pressed against mine, the kind of closeness that hits you like a freight train before your brain even catches up. My heart slammed in my chest as I registered the arm draped over my waist, heavy and unfamiliar in the gray dawn light filtering through the blinds. And then William whispered my name, soft, broken, like a confession he'd been choking on for years, before his lips brushed the back of my neck, igniting everything I'd buried deep. That moment shattered the fragile peace I'd built in our cramped Brooklyn apartment, where we'd been roommates for 2 years, sharing everything from late-night takeout to the unspoken rule that he was straight, off-limits, a wall I'd learned to lean on without crossing. William Hayes, with his easy grin and football player build, the guy who dragged me to dive bars and crack jokes about my artsy-fartsy photography gigs, had always been the straight one, the safe one, the brother I never had. But as his breath hitched against my skin, I realized the lie we'd both been living wasn't just his. It was mine too. I froze, every muscle screaming to bolt, to pretend this was a dream born from too much cheap whiskey the night before. We'd crashed after binge-watching that dumb action flick, the one with the explosions that drowned out the sirens wailing outside our window. Nothing unusual. Except now, his hand tightened on my hip, not pulling away, and I could feel the tremor in his fingers, like he was holding on for dear life. "Alex," he murmured again, voice raw. I can't pretend anymore. My name on his lips like that. It wasn't a question. It was a detonation. I twisted slowly, careful not to startle him, my eyes locking onto his in the half-light. William's face was a map of shadows and regret. Those blue eyes I'd caught myself staring into one too many times now wide with terror and something fiercer. Something that mirrored the ache I'd hidden since the day we met. He was still the same guy, messy blonde hair, stubble shadowing his jaw, but the vulnerability cracked him open, made him look like a stranger wearing my best friend's skin. "What the hell, Will?" I managed, my voice a croak, but there was no anger in it, only a flood of questions I wasn't ready to ask. He pulled back just enough to sit up, the sheet pooling around his waist, his chest rising and falling like he'd run a marathon. I know how this looks, feels. God, Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." He trailed off, rubbing a hand over his face, the one with the faded tattoo from his Navy days peeking out from under his sleeve. William had enlisted right out of high school in Ohio, served a tour in the Middle East that left scars he never talked about, then washed up in New York chasing a construction job that barely paid the rent. Straight as an arrow, or so he'd let everyone believe. Dates with women from apps, stories of hookups that sounded rehearsed, like lines from a script he didn't believe. But I'd seen the cracks. The way he'd linger when we cooked dinner together in our tiny kitchen, shoulders brushing as we chopped onions, his laugh a beat too long when I teased him about his terrible taste in music. The nights he'd come home from bars, eyes glassy, collapsing on the couch and staring at the ceiling until I'd sit beside him, offering silent company. I'd fallen for him slowly, stupidly, the way you do when loneliness creeps in and someone fits into your life like they were always meant to. Told myself it was one-sided, harmless. Kept it locked away, because losing him as a friend would gut me worse than unrequited anything. "I'm not sorry for wanting this," he said suddenly, his voice steadying as he met my gaze. "I'm sorry it took me so damn long to admit it. To you. To myself." The words hung there, heavy as the humid summer air seeping through the cracked window. Outside, the city stirred, horns blaring, a distant train rumbling under the bridge. But in our room, time stuttered. I wanted to yell, to shove him away, to demand why now, why like this. Instead, I reached out, my fingers tracing the line of his jaw, feeling the pulse jump under my touch. We didn't kiss then. Not yet. It was too fragile, too loaded. But as the sun crept higher, painting stripes across the rumpled sheets, we talked. Or tried to. Halting confessions spilled out. His first crush on a teammate in high school, buried under football pads and small-town expectations. The fear that gripped him every time he scrolled through Grindr but never swiped. My own stories, softer but no less sharp. Growing up gay in a liberal enough Chicago suburb where acceptance was a buzzword but not always the reality. The ex who'd ghosted me after I dared to love too loud. By noon, we'd ventured to the kitchen, brewing coffee in mugs chipped from too many drops. He leaned against the counter, watching me with that new intensity, like he was memorizing me. "This changes everything, doesn't it?" he asked, handing me a mug, our fingers brushing in a spark that wasn't accidental anymore. "Yeah," I said, sipping to hide the shake in my hands. "But maybe that's okay." It felt like a leap, standing on the edge of something vast and terrifying. We spent the day like that, tentative, orbiting each other. A walk through Prospect Park, where leaves crunched underfoot and joggers blurred past, his hand grazing mine until he laced our fingers, testing the waters. Laughter over falafel from the truck on the corner, the kind that bubbles up when relief chases fear. That night, we ordered pizza, sprawled on the couch, and when the credits rolled, he pulled me close. No words, just the press of his mouth to mine, slow and searching, tasting like possibility. For a week, it was bliss wrapped in secrecy. Stolen moments in the mornings, his body curling around mine like it belonged there. Whispers in the dark about futures we hadn't dared imagine. William started opening up more, about the discharge papers he'd hidden in his drawer, the honorable but quiet exit after a superior caught him with a guy in the barracks. "They called it conduct unbecoming," he'd said one night, voice muffled against my shoulder. But it was just me, being me. I held him then, feeling the weight of years he'd carried alone, and vowed silently to carry some now. But secrets have a way of festering, especially in a city like New York, where walls are thin and judgments thicker. It started small, a text from his sister in Ohio, asking about the girlfriend he'd mentioned in a family group chat. He laughed it off, but I saw the shadow cross his face. Then my best friend, Mia, cornered me at our weekly coffee spot in Williamsburg. "You're glowing, Alex." "Spill." I deflected, blaming freelance work picking up, but her eyes narrowed. "It's Will, isn't it? I always knew he had a thing for you." I denied it, heat rising in my cheeks, but the seed was planted. Doubt. What if this was a phase for him? A rebellion against the straight-jacket his family had sown? William's parents were the salt-of-the-earth type, Dad a factory worker, Mom baking pies for church potlucks. They'd love me as a roommate, sure, but as their son's boyfriend? The thought twisted my gut. The first real crack came 2 weeks in, at a house party in Bushwick thrown by one of his construction buddies. The loft was packed, bass thumping from speakers jury-rigged in the corner, bodies slick with sweat under string lights. We'd agreed to play it cool, no PDA, just the usual banter. But as the night wore on, beers loosening tongues, I caught him staring across the room, his expression unreadable amid the haze of smoke and laughter. That's when Daniel showed up. Tall, dark-haired, with a smile that cut like glass. William's ex from the Navy, the one he'd let slip about once in a tipsy ramble. Ancient history, he'd called it. But there was Daniel, clapping William on the back, pulling him into a hug that lingered too long. I nursed my drink in the corner, pretending to scroll my phone, but the jealousy burned hot and irrational. They talked for what felt like hours, heads bent close over the din. When William finally wandered back, his eyes were distant. "Old friend," he said, slinging an arm around my shoulders like camouflage. But later, in the cab home, he was quiet, staring out at the neon-streaked streets. "You okay?" I asked, my hand on his knee. "Yeah, just stuff." He squeezed my hand, but the warmth felt forced. That night, he rolled away in bed, back to me for the first time since that morning. I lay awake, the city's hum mocking my racing thoughts. Was Daniel a ghost from a life William missed? Or worse, did he regret us? The next day, he was gone before I woke, a note on the fridge, early sight. "Love you." The words blurred as I traced them, a bomb and a blade. I threw myself into work, shooting a wedding in the Hamptons, smiling couples exchanging vows under pergolas dripping with roses, the irony bitter on my tongue. By evening, I was drained, crashing through the door to find him at the stove, stirring pasta like nothing had shifted. We ate in silence at first, forks scraping plates, until I couldn't hold it. "Daniel, what's the deal?" The name dropped like a stone. He paused, saw a spoon midway to his mouth. "What do you mean?" "The party. You too." Looked cozy. I hated how accusatory it sounded, how small it made me feel. William set the spoon down, his face tightening. "It's not like that, Alex. He's just someone who gets it. The military shit. The hiding. His voice cracked on the last word, and something in me softened, even as the doubt gnawed deeper. Then why pull away last night? Like I'm the one you're hiding from now. He reached across the table, but I flinched. I'm not. I swear. It's me. I'm scared. Of screwing this up. Of them finding out. Them. His family. The world he'd left behind. We argued then, low and fierce, words tumbling like debris. You think I'm not scared? I shot back. I've been out since 16, Will. Fought for this space in my life. And now you're half in, looking back at what? He stood, chair scraping, eyes flashing. You think it's easy? Coming from where I do? My dad would disown me. My sister. She's got kids who'd ask questions I can't answer. The vulnerability was back, but laced with anger now, a storm I hadn't seen brewing. I pushed up too, chest tight. Then maybe you shouldn't have started this. Shouldn't have crawled into my bed if you weren't ready to own it. The words landed like a slap. He stared, hurt blooming raw, then grabbed his jacket. I need air. The door slammed, echoing in the empty apartment. Hours passed. I paced, replayed every moment, the high of those first days curdling into regret. When he returned near midnight, smelling of rain and regret, we didn't speak. Just undressed in the dark, bodies seeking forgiveness words couldn't give. But the fracture was there, a hairline crack waiting to spiderweb. Days blurred into a tense routine, polite mornings, loaded silences at night. I buried myself in shoots, capturing strangers' joy while mine frayed. He worked overtime, coming home exhausted, collapsing without touch, until the call came. It was a Friday, the kind where the city pulses with weekend promise. My phone buzzed on the counter as I edited photos, steam from the shower curling in the air. William's sister, Emily. I answered, expecting small talk. Instead, her voice was steel. Alex? Where's Will? He's not picking up. Something wrong. My stomach dropped. He's in the hospital. Car accident on the interstate. They airlifted him to Mount Sinai. Get here now. The world tilted. I grabbed keys, heart hammering, hailing a cab through traffic that felt deliberate in its crawl. Mount Sinai loomed, sterile lights buzzing like accusations. Emily met me in the waiting room, her face pale under fluorescent glare, two kids fidgeting at her feet. They say he's stable, she said, hugging me awkwardly. Broke his leg, some ribs. Concussion. But he asked for you. Me. Not family first. The weight of that settled as I pushed through doors, finding him in a bed amid beeps and tubes, bruised but alive. His eyes lit when he saw me, hand outstretched. Alex. I took it, squeezing until my knuckles whitened. Idiot. What happened? Slid on black ice. Thought of you the whole way down. A weak grin, but his grip trembled. Emily hovered outside, but in that room, it was just us. I stayed through the night, dozing in the vinyl chair, waking to his murmurs. Dawn brought his parents, stoic Midwesterners with calloused hands and worried brows. His dad clapped my shoulder. Good you're here, son. Family sticks. Family. The word lodged in my throat as they fussed over him. But when they stepped out for coffee, William pulled me close. Tell them. Please. I can't. Panic surged. Now? Here. His nod was fierce. I almost lost everything. Don't want to waste more time. So I did. Stumbled through it in the hallway, Emily's eyes widening, her mom's hand flying to her mouth. Will? With you. Disbelief. Then tears, from her, from me. His dad's face hardened, a wall slamming down. This ain't right. Not for him. Not for us. The betrayal hit like whiplash. Not from William, but from the rejection I'd braced for my whole life. They left that day, Emily torn, promising to call. William discharged a week later, hobbling into our apartment on crutches, the silence between us thicker than ever. Recovery was hell. Physical therapy sessions where he'd grit through pain, me playing nurse with ice packs and bad jokes. But emotionally, a minefield. Letters arrived from Ohio. His dad's scrawled note, curt and cutting. Fix this, boy, before it ruins you. William read it alone, then burned it in the sink, the smoke acrid reminder. I tried to bridge it, inviting Mia over for game nights, her irreverence a buffer. Your folks are dinosaurs, Will. Extinct soon enough. He'd laugh, but it didn't reach his eyes. Nights, he'd wake sweating from nightmares, of sand and shouts, of Daniel's face in the desert dark, of losing me next. Then Daniel called. I answered William's phone by mistake, his voice smooth as oil. Alex, right? Tell Will I'm in town. We should catch up. The implication slithered. I handed it over, watching William's face shudder. Not now, man. But later, alone, he confessed. He's the reason I left the Navy. Blackmailed me after we hooked up. Said he'd tell command unless I ended it. Rage boiled. For Daniel, for the system that chewed men like them up. He's poison. Stay away. I know. But part of me wonders. If I'd fought then, would we be here now? The question hung, a chasm. Our love felt like a tightrope, every step a risk. The unraveling accelerated when Daniel didn't take no for an answer. He showed up at our door 2 days later, unannounced, leaning against the frame with that predatory charm, a bottle of bourbon swinging from his fingers like a peace offering. William was at PT, so I faced him alone, the peephole my only armor before swinging the door wide just enough to block his view inside. What do you want, Daniel? My voice was steady, but my pulse wasn't, memories of William's confessions flashing like warning lights. He smiled, all teeth and no warmth, eyes scanning me like I was the obstacle. Just to see an old friend. Will's been dodging me. Figured I'd drop by. The implication dripped. Old friends don't dodge, they cling. He's busy healing. From the accident you probably heard about. I crossed my arms, channeling every boundary I'd ever learned. Daniel's laugh was low, dismissive. Yeah, heard. Tough break. But come on, Alex, you get it. The life we let out there, it bonds you, warps you. He stepped closer, the bourbon's label catching the hall light. Top shelf, the kind William could never afford. Will's always been the good boy. Straight-laced, even when he wasn't. But I see how he looks at you. Like your salvation or something stupid like that. Get out. The words escaped sharper than intended, laced with the fury of someone who'd pieced together too many shards. He held up his hands, mock surrender, but his eyes gleamed with something darker. Hey, no beef. Just telling you, guys like us, we don't get happy endings. He'll crack eventually. Always does. He set the bottle down with a clink, turning on his heel. Tell him I said hi. The door clicked shut, but his words echoed, burrowing deep. When William got home, crutches thumping rhythmically, I didn't mention it. Not then. Instead, I helped him settle, massaged the knots from his good leg, let the routine dull the edge. But doubt is a thief, stealing sleep in increments. That night, as rain lashed the windows, I lay beside him, listening to his breaths even out, wondering if Daniel was right, if this was borrowed time. The next morning brought a different storm. A package arrived, no return address, just my name scrawled in block letters. Inside, photos, grainy prints from William's Navy days. Him and Daniel, arms slung casual, but the intimacy screamed in the angles, the touches. One caught them in a tent, shadows implying what light hid. A note clipped to the stack. Truth hurts, but lies kill. D. My hands shook as I shoved them back in the box, heart a war drum. Blackmail. Again. Daniel wasn't just haunting. He was hunting. I burned the photos in the tub that afternoon, the acrid smoke setting off the alarm until William banged in, wild-eyed. What the hell, Alex? I told him then, everything. Daniel's visit, the pics, the threat lurking like smog. His face drained of color, crutches forgotten as he sank to the couch. Bastard. He's trying to drag me back down. Tears welled, unashamed, and he swiped at them. I can't let him touch us. Not now. We reported it. Cops in a precinct smelling of stale coffee. Their shrugs of familiar dismissal. No direct threat, sir. Could be a prank. But to us, it was a declaration of war. William's resolve hardened after that. He blocked numbers, changed locks, even called Emily for backup. She arrived the next weekend, kids in tow, her presence a tentative bridge. Dad's coming around. She lied gently over takeout Chinese. He misses you. Just give it time. But time was the enemy. William's PT progressed, braces swapped for a limp, but his nightmares worsened, waking thrashing, calling Daniel's name in terror. I'd soothe him, words soft against his fevered skin, but the distance grew. He pulled away, not in anger but exhaustion, like loving me was a weight he couldn't balance with his fractures. The breaking point came at Mia's gallery opening in Soho, A whirlwind of clinking glasses and abstract art splashed across white walls. I'd shot the promo pics, capturing her sculptures in golden light, but showing up with William on my arm felt like a gauntlet thrown. We'd agreed, out and proud, no more hiding. His hand in mine as we navigated the crowd, heads turning subtly, curious, appraising. "You clean up nice, Hayes," Mia teased, kissing his cheek, her sequin dress catching the spotlights. "Alex has been hoarding you." He grinned, genuine for the first time in weeks, pulling me closer. "Wouldn't trade it." The words warmed, a flicker of the man who'd whispered in my bed that first morning. But then Daniel slithered in, tuxedo sharp as a blade, champagne flute in hand. How he knew didn't matter. He made a beeline, congratulating Mia before cornering us by a kinetic sculpture of twisting metal. "Fancy seeing you lovebirds here." His eyes raked over our joined hands, amusement curling his lip. "Will you look domesticated?" William stiffened, grip tightening on mine. "Leave, Daniel. We're done." "Oh, we'll never be done." He leaned in, voice of venomous drawl. "You forget, I know things. Like that little fund you've been scraping for law school. Or how your dad's health is tanking, and you're the only safety net." A pause, theatrical. One word from me, and poof, family implodes. It was a bluff, had to be, but William blanched, the color leaching from his face. "You son of a..." "Easy," Daniel cut in, glancing at me. "Alex doesn't know, does he? About the money you've been hiding. This savings from your old man's business that isn't quite legit." The room spun. Hiding money? From me? Lies layered on lies. I yanked my hand free, the betrayal a physical ache. "What's he talking about, Will?" "Not now," William started, but Daniel's laugh sliced through. "Tell him, or I will." The gallery blurred. Art lovers oblivious, Mia's voice calling from across the room. William's eyes pleaded, but the dam broke. "It's for us, Alex. A nest egg. Dad's factory, there was. Creative accounting. I didn't want to drag you into it." "Creative accounting?" The words tasted like ash. "You mean fraud. And you kept it from me? After everything." "It was protection. For you. For this." He gestured between us, desperate. Daniel clapped slowly, touching, but expired. He drained his glass, sauntering off into the crowd like smoke. I fled then, bursting into the cool night air, chest heaving as taxis hissed by. William followed, limping but determined. "Alex, wait, please." I whirled. "How can I trust you? Secrets on secrets. Daniel, the money, your family. You're still playing games." "I'm not." I was scared. Of losing you. Of everything blowing up. Tears streaked his face, illuminated by street lamps. "You're the only real thing I've got." The fight raged on the sidewalk, voices rising until a cop car slowed, lights flashing wary. We retreated to a diner, fluorescent harshness mirroring our raw edges. Over cooling coffee, truths poured. The money was a loan, not theft, his dad's desperate bid to save the plant. William repaying in shadows to avoid shame. I wanted to come clean. After the accident, I planned to. But Daniel, he exploits weakness. And I'm your weakness? The question hung, vulnerable. "No." He reached, hesitant. "You're my strength. The reason I fight." We went home, bodies colliding in a tangle of need and forgiveness. But the seed of mistrust had taken root. Days later, Emily called. Her dad's heart attack, critical. William booked a flight, me in tow despite protests. We faced this together. Ohio unfolded like a faded postcard. Flat fields dusted with early snow. The Hayes family home sagging under gray skies. His mom hugged me stiffly at the door, eyes red-rimmed. "He's stable. But Will, talk to him. Please." The hospital room was a time capsule, beeps syncing with the tick of a wall clock, his dad pale against starched sheets. William knelt by the bed, hand in his father's frail one. "Dad." I brought Alex. Eyes fluttered open, sharpening on me. Silence stretched, thick as the foredrip. Then, hoarse, the roommate. "Good of you to come." More than that, I prayed silently. But William squeezed my hand under the rail. "More than that, Dad. He's my partner." The room iced. His dad's gaze flicked between us, processing, then away. "Son, we'll talk later." Dismissal, but no explosion. Progress, maybe. Back at the house, tension simmered. His mom set extra plates, avoiding my eyes. Aunts whispered in the kitchen, kids oblivious at the TV. That night, in the guest room, his old twin bet a cruel joke. We clung like survivors. "Thank you," he breathed, "for being here. Always." But as sleep claimed him, I stared at the ceiling, Daniel's words echoing. No happy endings. The climax shattered at dawn. A knock, urgent, insistent. William stumbled down, me trailing, to find Daniel on the porch, duffel slung over his shoulder. Surprise visit. Family emergency, right? Thought I'd lend support. Lies. His eyes locked on William's, triumphant. Or did you forget? I know about the money trail. One call to the feds, and Daddy's plant goes under, for good. William lunged, but I caught him, the limp betraying. You're bluffing. Am I? Daniel pulled out his phone, thumb hovering. Say goodbye to your fairy tale. Rage blinded me. I snatched the phone, hurling it into the yard where it skidded into mud. Enough. You're done terrorizing him. Daniel's face twisted, shock, then fury. You have no idea what you're messing with, civilian. I know enough. Blackmail's a crime. And I've got friends. Cops will love this story. Bluffing my side, but it landed. He backed off, snarling promises of return. William collapsed against me, sobs racking. It's over. He'll ruin us. Not if we fight. I held him as sirens wailed distant. Maybe real, maybe not. But in that moment, choice crystallized. Run or stand. We chose stand. Called lawyers, documented everything. Even looped in Emily, who turned fierce ally. His dad, recovering, overheard the tale in hushed tones. Days later, over hospital jello, he grunted, "That boy, Daniel, sounds like a coward. You ain't." A nod to me. Take care of my son. Not absolution, but a start. Back in Brooklyn, we rebuilt. Therapy for William's ghosts. Joint sessions unpacking my trust fractures. Daniel vanished. A ghost exorcised by restraining orders and sheer will. Months on, the rooftop became our sanctuary. That golden hour scene. Me against his chest, city sprawling below, hands linked as stars pricked the sky. I love you, he said, simple, sure. Love you back. No secrets left, just us, flawed, fierce, finally free. But life's not a bow, it's a knot. His dad passed that winter, quietly, a letter arriving. Proud of you, boy. Live true. Tears then, healing once. We moved to a bigger place in Queens, space for growth. Mia's wedding shoot sealed it. Me behind the lens, William beside, our story woven into theirs. In the end, it wasn't perfect. Fights flared, doubts whispered. But every morning, waking to him, arm over my waist, breath warm, I chose belief. Because love isn't absence of storm, it's dancing in the rain. Spring thawed Ohio's grip on William's soul, but New York's hustle tested our fragile peace. We'd returned from the funeral leaner, somehow, grief a sculptor chiseling away excess, leaving only essentials. The new apartment in Astoria smelled of fresh paint and possibility, its bay window framing views of the East River where ferries cut silver paths at dusk. I set up my darkroom in the spare room, chemicals bubbling like alchemical promises, while William tackled cabinets, his limp fading to a ghost of itself. Nights, we'd cook, him searing steaks from the butcher on Ditmars, me tossing salads with herbs from the fire escape pots. Conversation flowed easier now, laced with the tentative optimism of survivors. Law school, he'd muse over wine, fingers tracing the stem. Think I could hack it? GI Bill's still got juice. You'd crush it, I'd say, meaning it. He'd enrolled part-time at CUNY, criminal justice track, channeling Navy discipline into lectures on ethics he'd once bent. I watched him study, highlighters streaking pages like war paint, pride swelling quiet. But shadows lingered. Daniel's silence was a taunt, not surrender. Every unknown number buzzed like a threat. I'd jolt awake, checking locks, while William soothed with kisses featherlight. He's gone, babe. We won. Yet trust, once shattered, rebuilds slow, mine in him, his in the world. The controversy brewed subtly, ignited by a freelance gig, a profile for Out magazine on queer vets. I pitched it months back, pre-chaos, but now? William balked. They'll dig. Find stuff about Daniel, the discharge. Ruin Dad's memory. Or honor it. I countered, laptop glowing between us. Your story. Hiding, fighting, it's what they need. Strength, not shame. He paced, the floorboards creaking protest. Easy for you. You've been out forever. I'm still. Figuring. The argument simmered days, erupting over breakfast bagels. You want me to bear it all? For clicks? While my family's still grieving. It's not about clicks. It's truth. The kind that frees. My voice cracked, old wounds surfacing, my own coming out scars, the uncle who'd cut ties, the friends who'd faded. He softened, pulling me into his lap despite the awkward angle. I'm scared, Alex. Of losing more. We compromised, anonymous at first, his face shadowed in photos I'd shoot. But as interviews unfolded, raw tales of barracks whispers, don't ask, don't tell's lingering chill, William emerged, voice steady on tape. I serve my country. Loved in silence. Now, I love loud. The piece dropped in June, cover tees blazing, silent no more, queer vets speak. Backlash hit like a squall, trolls flooding comments, his mom forwarding Bible verses with trembling hands. But support surged too, emails from kids in Ohio, a Navy buddy reaching out. And Daniel? A single postcard, postmarked nowhere, nice try. Game on. We framed it, a talisman against fear. Summer deepened our rhythm, weekends escaping to the Hamptons via rickety train, sand dollars crunching underfoot. One beach day, waves lapping lazy, he proposed, not with rings, but words. Marry me? Not legal yet, but us. Official. Tears stung souther than the sea. Yes. We exchanged mismatched bands from a Greenwich Village shop, engraving inside. No more hiding. But euphoria's a setup for the fall. Fall brought Daniel's return, not as villain, but virus, infiltrating via Emily's wedding. She'd met a guy, sweet accountant type, and invited us to the farm in upstate New York. Family men's, she texted, hopeful. William agonized, but went, for her, for closure. The venue was idyllic. Barns strung with lights, fields golden under harvest moon. We arrived tense, me in chinos, him in a suit that hugged his frame like pride. Toasts flowed, laughter loosening knots, until Daniel appeared, +1 to a distant cousin, his smile a serpent's coil. He cornered William by the cider bar, me fetching refills. Miss me, venom sweetened with charm. Get lost. William's jaw set, but Daniel leaned closer. Or what? Tell the bride about your little fraud fund? How it'd tank her hubby's firm if audited. Bluff again, but the threat landed amid vows and violins. William shoved past, finding me, face ashen. He's here, threatening Emily now. Rage ignited. I marched over, inserting between them. Leave my family alone, you parasite. Daniel's eyes narrowed, appraising. Family? Cute. But Will knows. I'm the original. The one who broke him in. The words twisted, implying cruelties unspoken. Guests milled oblivious, but Emily caught the vibe, pulling us aside. What's going on? Truth spilled in the hayloft, shadows dancing from lantern glow. Daniel's history unspooled. Not just ex, but abuser, the blackmail a pattern from deployment days. Emily's face hardened maternal. We end this. Tonight. She confronted him publicly, voice carrying over cake cutting. Daniel, you're not welcome. Lies end here. Security, hired for drunks, escorted him out, his curses fading into crickets. Relief washed, but fallout lingered. Emily hugged us fierce. You're my brothers. Both. A bridge rebuilt, sturdier. Back home, the high crashed. William withdrew, nightmares resurging. Daniel's face morphing with his dad's, accusations blending. What if he's right? What if I am broken? You're not. I held him through storms. But exhaustion crept, my own doubts whispering. Can I carry us both? The misunderstanding peaked in November, leaves carpeting streets like confetti from a funeral. I'd landed a big shoot, editorial for GQ, queer icons in Manhattan lofts. Excitement buzzed, but William's mood soured. Another one? You're always gone. Building our life. Defensive, the rift widening. Then the call. Mia, frantic. Alex, check X. Some assholes posting about Will. Old Navy pics, twisted. Daniel's revenge. Doctored images circulating, implying William's discharge was dishonorable, predatory. Hashtags trended vet betrayal, strangers piling on. William saw, crumbling. It's out. Everything. I raged online, deleting threads, but the damage viral. His program director called. We need to discuss your enrollment. Pause. Integrity clause. Betrayal's sharpest cut, from the system he'd trusted. He dropped out, eyes hollow. Can't fight ghosts forever. Our fight that night was cataclysmic. Accusations flying like shrapnel. You pushed the article. Knew it'd blow up. I supported you. This is Daniel, not me. Tears hot, hearts raw. He stormed out, into the chill, me chasing to the bridge overlook. Don't. Please. He turned, wind whipping. I love you, Alex. But maybe. I'm poisoned too. The words gutted. We stood, precipice literal, until I bridged. Then we detoxed together. No more solo. He collapsed into me, sobs merging with traffic hum. Forgiveness came slow, therapy joint now. Sessions unpacking trauma's tendrils, rebuilding trust brick by brick. Winter solstice brought pivot. William restarted classes online, focus on policy reform for queer vets. I documented it, not for mags, but us, a private archive of resilience. Climax crested unexpectedly, Valentine's dawn. A knock, detectives, badges glinting. Daniel Reyes. We've got him. Your reports, the wedding incident, plus priors from the service. Fraud, harassment. He's done. Relief tsunami. William, still Abed, wept as I relayed, pulling me down. We did it. No, you did. Surviving him, us, that's the win. Spring renewal. Emily visited, kids tumbling through our space, her toast at dinner. To chosen family. His mom called weekly now, voice warming. Saw your photo in the paper, Alex. Handsome couple. The rooftop, eternal witness, hosted our vow renewal. Informal, stars confetti. Through betrayals, misunderstandings, William said, ring glinting. I choose you. And I you. Lips met, city applauding below. Life post-climax. Human, textured. Fights over socks, laughs over burns. William graduated, advocating in Albany halls. I exhibited, our story woven subtle in frames. In quiet, I trace his tattoo, remembering that first dawn. Love's not fairy tale, it's forge, hammering rough into enduring. And ours? Unbreakable. Years distilled to essences now, but the heart of it, the raw, pulsing core, lives in those early fractures, the ones that nearly felled us. By our third anniversary, the apartment had evolved. Walls lined with my prints, black and whites of William mid-laugh, mid-stride, mid-kiss. He'd tease, you're obsessed, but his eyes shone, that navy-honed humility yielding to acceptance. Work steadied mine, staff photographer at a queer arts mag, shoots blending advocacy with art. William climbed, junior counsel at a nonprofit, litigating for vets' rights, his testimony before committees a quiet thunder. For the ghosts, he'd say, loosening his tie post hearing. And the living. Family mended uneven. Emily's kids called us Uncle Alex and Will, holiday cards crayon scrawled. His mom visited once, tentative bridge crossing, baking pies in our oven while eyeing our framed commitment photo. He looks happy, she'd murmur, a truce. But peace invites tests. The controversy reignited subtly, a spark from embers, an expose podcast on military scandals. Daniel's name dropped in passing, his conviction, our role anonymized. Listeners connected dots, digging up William's service record, speculation swirling. Hero or hoax, headlines sneered, old trolls resurrecting. William weathered it stoic, but I saw cracks, sleepless nights, scotch neat. Thought it was buried. It is. This is noise. But doubt crept, my own. Had I pushed too hard, exposing him? Misunderstanding brewed from there, a slow poison. A work trip to L.A., profile on trans activists, stretched 2 weeks, calls sporadic amid chaos. Home, William hosted a fundraiser, nerves jangling. Mia texted midway, he's off. Drinking heavy. Mentioned space. Panic flight home, landing to find him on the couch, bottle half empty, eyes red. You're back early. Scared me. What's wrong? He gestured vague. The podcast. People staring at work. And you, always chasing stories, leaving me to hold the fort. Will, that's my job. Our life. Life? Feels like I'm the footnote. slurred but sharp. Hurt flared. You think I don't fight for us? Every shot's for stability, for you. Or glory. The article, the exposure. You love the drama. The accusation landed like before, dredging insecurities. If you can't trust my intentions. Trust? After secrets? Daniel taught me that. Venom unintended, but it stung. I packed a bag, crashing at Mia's, the sublet a cold echo. Days blurred, texts unanswered, my shoots mechanical. Therapy solo, unpacking abandonment fears, mine from youth, his from betrayal. Climax unexpected, a call from Ohio, Emily sobbing. Mom's sick. Cancer. She wants Will. Both of you. Flight north, reconciliation midair, his hand finding mine at takeoff. I'm sorry. Fear talking, not me. Forgive you. Always. Tears mid-turbulence, vows renewed in whispers. The farmhouse hospice was hushed, monitors beeping soft elegies. His mom, frail and flannel, beckoned us close. Boys. Voice whisper thin. Saw the news. Proud. Of your fight. To me. Thank you. For loving him whole. She passed at dawn, sky bruising purple. William shattered, me anchoring, graveside under weeping willows. She knew, he gasped. All along. Healing came communal. Shiva with Emily's clan, stories shared. Her hidden support, clippings saved of our wins. Back in New York, resolve solidified. William proposed therapy retreat. Catskills cabin, no signal, just us and woods. There, misunderstandings dissolved in hikes and hearth talks. I projected, he admitted, fire crackling. Daniel's control, feared losing yours. And I fled, old habit. Hands clasped, rings catching flame. But we stay. Fight fair. Return brought bloom. Joint project, photo essay on queer families. Our story thread subtle. Daniel's shadow? Faded to footnote, his appeals denied. Anniversary 4, rooftop redux, city evolved. New bridges lit, our love etched in skyline. Dinner catered simple, steak, salad, wine. Toasts to storms weathered. Here's to decisions hard, he said, glass raised. Choosing you every time. Every time. Kiss sealed, eternal. Years on, gray threads our hair, lines laughter's map. Kids? Not biological, but mentored. Foster teens at the center William founded, teaching resilience. My lens captures their triumphs. His voice amplifies. Regrets? Few. The secrets that scarred, misunderstandings that maimed, but they forged depth, empathy wide as Hudson. In quiet eves, arm round waist, I whisper thanks. For that dawn, the unbelievable. For him, straight no more, but wholly mine. Humanity's arc bends human, messy, merciful. Ours, a testament, love not despite flaws, but through them. And in that, redemption.